to a real fight wasn't right. Where can she dream here? Took a hold of her life, left at night.
Great day, everyone. How's it going? Welcome to Community Impact. My name is Zach Clayton, Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, the PAC channels, and welcome again to Community Impact. Kind of lost where I was at there, so I'm just going to repeat myself. Why not? We are going to be getting back to normalcy now that things have kind of calmed down a little bit. And with that, I am proud to say that we are bringing back our series of shows featuring one of our heroes, both country and community, Mr. Jerrod Smith, talking about small business funding. One of the things that we really want to focus on is the health of all the small businesses and what it takes to become a thriving and successful small business. Look, there are enough things out there that are against us. So we want to introduce some of these wonderful people in the community who are doing things to make you and your business a success. Every month we will be talking to Jerrod, and he is one of our Palladium partners. He is out there to make a difference, and if you are not yet able to get a loan, he's got programs that can help you out. And one of the best things about Jerrod is he can prove that he's not out there just to get your money. Contact him. Work with him. Get yourself healthy and get the money you need to succeed. So our first interview tonight is with my friend, again, let me try this again. Wonderful hero partner, wonderful guy, Mr. Jerrod Smith of Lone Star Valor Funding. It is so nice being able to record again and do things properly, because we can get back to some of the shows that we had planned at one point in time, and then all of a sudden they were gone. Joining us right now is Jerrod Smith with Lone Star Valor Funding. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. And yourself?
Doing good. You are a funding organization to try to help small businesses, and you have programs from everybody to those with great credit to those who are struggling. And if you've got people who don't qualify right up front, you've got programs to help them grow, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we enjoy helping the small business, because I think that's the heartbeat of America.
Yeah, absolutely. Jerrod, tell us a little bit more about Lone Star Valor Funding. Let us know what makes you stand out with other bigger lenders.
Yeah. So when it comes to lending, there's a lot of opportunity out there, but a lot of people struggle to figure out how to gain that opportunity to utilize it the best way. And so with our company, what we do is really try to understand what the business does and what it's trying to do with the money, and then find that right lender that fits with them. And instead of going down to your credit union, they're not going to necessarily say that the bank next door has a better deal. And so that's the beauty of what we do is we can compare it kind of to multiple lenders and find the best deal that fits for them. And sometimes it doesn't work out because the deal is not right. And with us, we're not obligated to one bank or the other. So we really want to advise you on the best way to move forward, not just trying to sell you a loan.
Getting somebody tied into the bad loan, that's not good for your business, is it?
No, I mean, again, I think every situation has its purpose, and getting a bad loan might fit, your business needs. And when we say bad loans, it's not necessarily saying that, it's not worth it. It's saying, typically what we're talking about is like a high interest rate, payments either daily or weekly. Um, and so they really pry on pry on your desperate need. And so that's why really understanding the business is important to me, because I want to know if it's something that you absolutely need, or and your business is going to fail if you don't get it, versus somebody that's just trying to pad their bank account, which is also very useful. But their loan might not make sense compared to the other loan. And so it's really understanding every business and what makes them tick.
What are some of the dangers of like predatory loan vendors out there? Some of these loans that promise the world but charge you extremely high interest rates, or make the terms to where you're going to fail.
I think the biggest thing is doing kind of your research, and understanding what they are. I mean, like for me, I make sure to explain to every client like what type of lending options there are and what kind, to be out and look. The most that I worry about with people getting taken advantage of is either paying a fee to look for lending options. Most our service is free, and so you don't necessarily have to deal with that. And then the other one is just, you're taking kind of advantage of the bad credit people, that they really have to deal with, not the best terms.
Yeah, and there are a few of those. There are a few of those predators that are out there that are they don't even report to the credit bureaus, right? Any positive, but they can report negative. So you have a danger there, to where you're not even helping yourself. All you're doing is potentially harming yourself.
I mean, yes and no, um, because there's both a positive and a negative when it comes to credit, regardless of if it's on there or not. With it being on your credit report, the things you have to deal with is, especially if you're looking at your personal credit, they're gonna that's gonna add to your debt to income ratio. If you're using credit cards to fund your business, well, that usage is going to go way up. Where if you're looking at like business funding, or like a business credit card, what they allow you to be able to max that credit card out, or max it without having to hit your personal credit side, and hurting your personal credit, in that regards, because um you got to make sure that you're treating them differently, and that's why it's important. Because a business credit card, I can max it out, pay it off, max it out, and there's no worry about making sure that I fit that mold. With personal credit, I believe it's 30% usage. Really, they want to see even lower than that, but 30% is kind of that magic number, where if you start uh, you know getting your credit cards above that 30%, what's going to start decreasing your personal credit, which is going to make it harder for you to get loans and lending and anything like that in the future.
What are some of the most important tips that you can give people to where they're not hurting their personal credit?
Yeah, so making sure that you're funding it through the business. There may be some personal guarantees, which means that they're going to look at your credit and say, okay, is he still worthy of this or not? And so if it's through the business typically, and it shouldn't hit your personal at all. That means doing a credit pool. That means funding it or anything like that. It shouldn't hit your personal. And that's why it's important to use business, because anything personal you use is going to hurt your credit. um, because it's just the way the system works.
You also have a potential of losing more if something goes wrong with the business. They could come after you personally if you try to use your own personal credit.
Yeah, that's the other big thing. And it's not so much personal credit as far as, we interweaving your business to your personal life.
Okay.
The breakup is that, if we're talking about, the different uh, lanes of business filing. So you have your sole proprietor, your LLC, and your corporations. And so with the LLC, what a lot of people get an LLC for is because it's supposed to protect you as the owner from your personal being hurt from any business activity. Well, when you start using your funds, through your personal, well, now you're saying that those are part of the business and now leave you open for litigation to your personal.
Okay. Let me ask you a question here. Is there a difference in lending when it comes to LLC or B Corp or any of those others? Are there different ways of filing? So,
There is different ways of filing, but when we're talking about funding, they there isn't that much of a difference between them. Really, the biggest difference is protection and um, uh, and tax, tax write-off and that. You get taxed at a set rate in the in the corporate veil versus if you're an LLC, you're kind of taxed as like a sole proprietorship for that. So yeah, and so it in that sense, it doesn't, when you start getting into the C corps, then uh, you have shares in that, and so that's where making that capital comes in. Usually, it's typically they sell shares, right, for people to invest in the business and for X amount of percentage of the business, and so that's a little different, but
how difficult is it for a share rider, a person who runs like an Uber or something like that? Is it almost impossible for them to get a loan?
no. What it really matters is it kind of depends on the lender route that we go, but a lot of them just want to see what you're making monthly, and so as long as you're making that monthly minimum, if you don't have the best of credit, that's what's going to be. So it's making sure that you're depositing that money into that bank account because that's what they're looking at now. I have other lenders with other sources who, they care about what your taxes are, what you filed, how much that is, and how much you profited in that. So it just kind of varies depending on the lending option.
Okay. That's wonderful to know because somebody who is driving an Uber probably isn't going to be making a lot of money if they're trying to drive a big old dually, you know, uh, uh, truck that's meant for industrial towing instead of driving a smaller car. Um, I wanted to ask you a question right now about the way that we are in the political stage of the government. There are a lot of people who are going to be making a lot of promises right now. How does that affect lending?
I mean, so there's a lot of industries that get affected by the election year, and lending is unfortunately one of them. People get a little bit more nervous, they get a little bit more standoffish during this time because obviously of the unknown, who we're going to get, versus who we have now. Is it worth, investing now? A lot of people wait, typically. And so, yeah, again, it makes it difficult just because people don't know what to do with their money or what's going to be the outcome, obviously.
And what should people like, if you've got somebody who's looking to get a loan, what can they do to make sure, like, to better their chances of obtaining that loan? Are there things that they can do right now to better their chances to get some of these people who are still willing to put money forward in a company?
I mean, to be honest, it's kind of starts with your credit. It um, sounds funny, but credit dictates, the lending options that we can get. And you know, there's a lot of kind of false promises out there that say you don't need to do your personal credit, but typically in those situations, you're not going to find the fairest, deal. You're going to probably find funding, but it's not going to be um, worthwhile.
So is it better, if you can manage to do it, is it better to hold off until after the election when things calm down?
Um, you know, I don't think it really matters at the moment. I think, if you're somebody that's, either looking to get funding or, putting a reserve into your bank account, which is just as important. I think now is obviously the time, because what's more watchful for is the reserve, and what the Federal Reserve puts out their standard rates, and that, so that dictates pretty much everything. And right now it's been staying still, but you know who knows? Earlier this year they talked about lowering it. Now they say maybe at the end of the year, but the economy, the way the economy is right now, who knows?
Yeah, the last time we talked, the reserve, it was right before the reserve made the announcement, and you had made the guess that they were going to hold the same, and that's exactly what they did. And what did that, just as a reminder, what did that mean for people looking to get a loan?
Yeah, it just means the interest rates. So that kind of dictates all rates, regardless of what you're looking at, or if you're looking at a loan, it affects that. The biggest market is the housing market, which is the reason why they do that. Is to reduce the amount of borrowing. That's the idea. But um, again, the biggest thing it does is it increases the lowest interest rate you can get. So that being said, so if it um, right now is lowest we can get is 7%, that's going to be the lowest we can get. Everything else is going to be higher. So when that reserve goes up, the interest rates go up. So that means you're paying more in in fees.
What would be, if you could get a hold of a group of people who are just now starting a business and they're looking to, um, you know, potentially start this without trying to establish their credit, what would you say to them?
Um, y- y- I think most important is, yeah, um, is starting to understand the difference between business credit and personal credit. And again, the biggest thing is just making sure that you're funding everything through your business and not your personal. What a lot of people do, especially nowadays, they put it on a credit card, because their most likely credit score is not the best, but it's a catch 22, because obviously when you use your credit cards, your credit score is going to go down, which means that by the time you're ready for funding, you may not qualify anymore, or you may not qualify for the good lending anymore. So um, that's, I would say, the biggest thing.
Well, I think that we can together, uh, really make a difference here. And we can really help people get to where they need to be, even if they're not where they're in a situation right at this moment. And Jerrod, I think that people calling you would be one of the best things in the world, because you don't charge people just to talk to them, do you?
No, absolutely. And I don't take no very very well. So I try to be as resourceful as I can with options as well.
Well, and how did they what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I mean, you can email me at the support at lonestarvalorfunding.com. Call us at 210 610 1970. You can text that number as well. So feel free to reach out to us. Or you can go on the website. There's a contact form and a chat there that we respond to, when somebody writes us.
And remember, we talked to Jerrod because we partnered with Jerrod, and it's one of the reasons why we love having this opportunity. You can always ask us a question by sending us a question, at any point in time, and the next time he's on, we can get those questions answered. So if you have any questions that you would like him to answer, please let us know, and we're going to have him back on here in a couple of weeks, and he'll be able to answer these questions, and you'll get those. We'll send you the answer first off, so you don't have to wait. But then he'll answer those questions for everybody to hear. But Jerrod is part of the Community Pay It Forward family, and we appreciate that. Which means that anytime you go to him and you obtain a loan through him, you also get to support somebody who has asked us for help. So it's a wonderful, wonderful program that he's putting on. You can help yourself, help others while we're helping others. So it's a program that we're all part of, and I'm glad to be tied in with you. Once again, you can get a hold of Jerrod by visiting LoneStarValorFunding.com, LoneStarValorFunding.com. Phone calls or text messages, 210-610-1970, 210-610-1970, or support at LoneStarValorFunding.com, support at LoneStarValorFunding.com. Jerrod, is there anything else that you would like to talk about before we cut this out?
No, I mean, obviously, it's great to see you again, and great to be back here, and look forward to helping people make the right decision for their funding.
Yeah, and again, we really want to hear your questions. We are recording these shows now due to some of the complications we've been having with trying to record live. So, but your questions are still needed and appreciated. And all you have to do is scan this wonderful little QR code right above Jerrod right now. When you scan that, you can ask us any questions that you have. You ask us those questions, we'll get the answer right to you, but then those questions can be answered for everyone else on our next episode. Jerrod, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for this. And again, as always, Jerrod is also a 13-year veteran who was medically retired. And I appreciate you for your service. So you can always find him at our Serving Our Heroes, both country and community. Thank you very much for your service, my friend.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Get a hold of Jerrod, get your questions answered. Let's get some funding in a lot of these small businesses who need it the most.
Absolutely.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Computer acting a little bit slow today. Hey everybody, how's it going? Computer acting a little bit slow today. You know me, if it involves me, it involves the computer doing something funky. So we are now here with a brand new friend of the program, Cheryl Okoli. How are you doing, sweetie?
I am well, thank you. And thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, not a problem. Like a lot of the people that we've been talking to lately, you have quite a bit going on, and pretty much everything is enabling people to continue to work by allowing them the assistance and the rest and relaxation, because burnout is terrible when it comes to programs, right? And I know that you have a heavy focus on our heroes, first responders, veterans, stuff like that we're going to be talking about. But you have so much going on inside the States and for European programs as well, right?
Well, when you say inside the States and European program, I just want to clarify something. So technically, I am Canadian, just for the record. So most of my programs are within Canada, just for the record. So when I hear things like programs within the States and outside, in the sense of, for example, let's talk about Renata Wellness and Recreation Retreat, for instance. Okay. So this is a service that I provide for those in the healthcare industry primarily, regardless of roles. And yes, first responders fall into that. And the whole intent is to tackle burnout. However, because I'm Canadian and I'm Albertan, it is registered in Alberta, Canada. However, I'm very open to partnering with organizations internationally that would like to provide a venue where we can run this retreat as a destination retreat. So I just wanted to clarify that for all it's worth, okay? So it's basically, the model is such that it's a place of rejuvenation, recalibration, a place where people can come and rest, lots of recreation, but they also have some light learning. Why? Because I want to equip them with tools so they can go back to their workplaces, back to their families, to be positive change agents as well. So some of those programs could be anything like conflict resolution, counseling, something called nighttime dream counseling, and dance, and lots of recreation that's tailored to the venue of choice. So I hope I answered that question for you.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question about this retreat. One of the reasons why you're doing the classes is because what good does it do you to go to a class, get relaxed, and then go back to a place and immediately start feeling that burnout again? You're allowing them to be able to take and manage that burnout a little bit better when they go back, right?
That's correct. So like I said, to equip them to be positive change agents. So let's say, for example, okay, let's talk about burnout, because it's really important people know what burnout is. So there's a group of authors that describe burnout as, and as I'm talking, I want you to assess yourself or someone that you know in very loose terms. If you find yourself to be more exhausted than normal, more cynical than normal, and you find that your work output has decreased, perhaps you might be burning out. And the key is, burnout is recognized in normal individuals. So it's usually not in people with a pre-existing, maybe mental health condition, but in normal people who are finding themselves to be more exhausted than normal, more cynical than usual, and again, finding decreased work efficacy, okay? So by number one, it's important that they identify what burnout is, okay? 2, make proactive measures to address it from a holistic perspective. And when I use the word holistic, for me, holism means looking after your physical, mental, social, cultural, and spiritual domain. You need all of those 3 areas to be harmonized, okay, for a human being to be functioning appropriately, okay? So with Renata Wellness and Recreation Retreats, the idea is for healing to begin in a picturesque environment, away from everything that they're used to. Yes, there'll be lots of rest, lots of good food, lots of recreation, but equipping them with some tools, like, for example, conflict resolution, for instance, okay? Conflict resolution is not just about interpersonal relationships. It could be about your processes, your systems, your tasks as well. It could be your values. That's a big thing, right? And when we talk about conflict, people think about external. It could also be within. Sometimes we have conflict within ourselves, right?
Yep.
It could be moral unrest and all that. Okay. And then also an organization development class of some sort. So that could be anything like maybe strategic management for, let's say, business owners or aspiring business owners or administrators or educators. Or it could be something of financial management for in terms of for you as an individual, you as an employee, you as an executive, for example. Okay. So yeah, so it's important to get away from the environment, because you might have heard this or not, but it's very difficult to heal in an environment where you have, maybe you're burning out, or maybe where you've experienced bullying and harassment. You need to get away from that environment for your healing journey, again, your holistic journey to begin. So that in a nutshell is the premise of Renata Wellness and Recreation Retreat. And I invite everyone to visit my website to learn more about the strategic direction in terms of its mission, vision, and goals. And most importantly, look at our history so you can understand why it came about in the first place.
This is really aimed towards people who are in high stress environments. Please don't get me wrong here. Every organization has a level of stress that is higher stress, but you are really aimed at people who literally hold lives in their hands, and are trying to help them manage a level of stress that, thank God, most of us don't have to deal with every day, but these are people that, if something happens, it could cost lives. What got you into this area? What made you start to think, hey, you know what? These people need help, and we need to make sure that we find the help they need.
Sure. So I have a healthcare background of 20 years. So I go by Dr. Cheryl Okoli, DHA. DHA stands for Doctorate in Health Administration. So in my, I'll say maybe about the 13-year mark in my career, I started thinking to myself, and this was more so this would have been in 2016, that there's thoughts of having a retreat for those in the healthcare industry. And before I continue, I just want to make it clear, though, I'm not just talking about those at the front lines, okay? You could be in the healthcare industry, and you can be in academia, you could be in research, you could be management director or C-level, so it doesn't matter. You could be a first responder. And also, let's not forget the non-professional caregivers as well. And what I mean by that, it could be someone taking care of their parent or their young ones, or someone who has special needs, a family member. They too at risk, right? So going back to your question, so around the 2016 mark was when I was in a leadership role, and I started thinking about, oh my goodness, I see healthcare professionals, regardless again of setting and hierarchy, and they're really burning out. I myself too, at some point, I started feeling, oh my, what's going on here? But thinking about burnout again, let me pause there for a second to mention burnout can be multifaceted. And what I mean by that is burnout related to occupational issues, and there could be burnout related to what's happening in your life as a whole. It could be from the social, family, external to your work, okay? So at that point in time, not many people know this actually, but around the 2016 mark when I mentioned that, in 2015, I'd had a car accident actually. And it could have been much, much worse. It was bad. I had about, I think it was 2nd or 3rd degree whiplash. It was almost like doing the Macarena, like my head, my neck.
Yeah.
And not many people realized it was serious because I wasn't on crutches. I didn't have a broken cast or anything. No one took it seriously. But naturally, when you're going through something like that, and also I'm very tall. Some people know this too. I'm like 5'10" and 3/4. By the time I wear heels, I'm over 6. The reason why I mention that is crucial. People who are tall, and when they have certain injuries, be it soft tissue injuries, their healing takes much longer for soft tissue repairs. So again, so here I am trying to do my work, juggle my work. I needed proper ergonomic equipment. At the time, I didn't have it. Again, I'm tall, right? So the basic workbench stations for some of my heights and for normal people wasn't the same. So for me, trying to advocate for that, it was really a battle, trying to recover from my illness, trying to juggle work. I really was beginning to burn out. I still love my job. I still love the people I was serving. But all those external factors combined with everything made me start burning out. But I'm not one to throw in the towel, okay? So I started thinking to myself, you know what? Between what happened in 2015, now in 2016, I started thinking, and at that point in time, I was pursuing my doctorate as well. I looked at my life. I looked at the life of other people from an occupational and from a social. And I started saying, you know what? I would so like to be part of a venture or advocate for a venture whereby we can have a picturesque setting, picturesque physical setting, where those in the healthcare industry can get away from everything and just rest and be loved on, you know, TLC. They're forever pouring out into others. And don't get me wrong, like you said, I don't want to be biased. Lots of industries pour out into people. But like you said, it's a matter of life and death when it comes to the healthcare industry, right? You can't take certain things lightly. I wanted a place where they could get away, rejuvenate, recalibrate. And when I use the word recalibrate, that's a proprietary mnemonic of mine as well. It didn't start off as being a proprietary mnemonic, but I invite everyone, when you get a chance, visit my website, www.renata.care. At the very top, it says free gifts. And then you can click on it and you can see what the recalibrate stands for. It's a step-by-step. Each letter stands for what you can do to recalibrate holistically. Yes, that's the one. And just click on the download button and to pull it up for you. So I said, so in 2016, I would say the idea was conceived to have this picturesque, beautiful place. But it wasn't just going to be a place where they can just recalibrate and rejuvenate, have good food, but also light learning. Why? When, again, like I said about burnout, could be occupational or multifaceted. Okay, one is occupational burnout, which means basically burnout happening because of what's happening in the workplace. So another thing for me was at that point in time in that role, as much as I'm grateful and honored to have been in that role, there were two of us in that role, and I took care of the northern part of Calgary. My colleague took care of the southern part of Calgary. That's a lot on one person. But again, I'm very good at managing my time. But between that and everything else happening, it was a lot, okay? So back to the retreat, I want them to have a place where that they can, again, recalibrate, but also have light learning on things like conflict resolution, because conflict is not necessarily bad. Did you know that? People get conflict and they just cringe. No, there is constructive and then there is destructive. And it's not just about interpersonal. It could also be value-related conflict. It could be the processes. It could be tasks. It could be systems. And when I'm using the word systems, not so much in the IT system world, but more like macro systems, like the healthcare system from a population lens, from a departmental lens, from a geographical lens, etc. Right? So they have some light learning on things like conflict resolution. They have a group counseling, because some of these individuals, not only are they burning out, they might have been recipients of bullying and harassment. And again, sadly for me, I was a recipient of that at the workplace. So lots of things were just happening all at once. Okay. So I'll pause there to explain anything else if you want me to, if you have any specific questions, but I think I'll pause there for now.
Right now, I just want to, you've got recalibrate broken down as recalibrate. Why are you doing what you're doing? Who do you need to focus on first? Educate yourself on the above. Celebrate what you have accomplished. Assess holistically, physically, mentally, socially, culturally, spiritually domains. Liberate negative thinking patterns. Inquire and get ideas from others. Believe in yourself, so important. Relinquish control of what you cannot. Accept that you are only human, another very important one. Trust the process and enthusiasm is the way forward. How did you come up with that?
Very good question. I've been blessed by God Almighty. I'm a Christ follower. He's given me many gifts. One of the things is the knack for words. I could just sit here and think, you know what, I want to come across a message to give people, but I want something tangible they can take away. And I just sit there, and within less than minutes, sometimes something will just come up. So I was like, Renata, wellness and recreation, a place of rejuvenation, a place of recalibration. So how did I come up with that? People always talk about R&R, but for me, I was like, first, I think what's more vital is for you to recalibrate and then rest. Hey, it's open for discussion or debate. But by recalibrating, so going back to your question, I was like, how can they recalibrate? And I was like, you know what? I just sat there one day, brought out my pen and paper. I was like, okay, recalibrate. What could the R stand for? I was like, well, you want to recalibrate, but what does that mean? Asking yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? Again, recalibrate can apply to your workplace setting. It could be in your family life. It could be those who are retired. It doesn't matter. Anyone can recalibrate. Okay, so the R is, why am I doing what I'm not doing? What should I focus on? What's my priorities? So that's pretty much how I came up with it. I just said, I want something tangible people can take away to literally recalibrate. It's not just a matter of you're going there and sitting somewhere and smelling the roses. That's good. But how do you make that time useful and beneficial? That when you come away from a retreat, you're like, you know what? I have some direction of some sort. It may not be all the pieces, but you have some direction. And most importantly, hopefully you've rested physically and mentally as well.
Well, and when you rest, when you're rested, when you take and you can look at all of those things, and you can look at them at a more, at ease feeling, and it's probably easier for you to take and break each and every one of them down. If you look at those in a stressed situation before you go to rejuvenate yourself, to recalibrate yourself, if you will. If you look at them beforehand, you're going to be looking at that and it's going to seem, intimidating, so recalibrating and then looking at that, it's going to seem like it's something very easy to do. Your second website is ShalomEaglesWings.care. Can you tell us a little bit about this? And this will go into your book as well.
Sure. Okay, Shalom Eagles Wings. Okay, so that is my business, Shalom Eagles Wings, and each word of my business name is a play on words. Shalom, most of us know it to mean peace. I know I'm not Jewish, but I like to say my Lord and Savior was Jewish. But shalom, beyond meaning peace, also means wholeness and wellness. Okay. The Eagles part of things has to do with the fact that I consider myself to be a visionary and rise above storms. I'm pretty resilient and I'm very strategic. And then the wings is the empowerment component of it. So Shalom Eagles Wings is all about consultation, advocacy, and empowerment. So what do I do there? So there are two arms to it. There's a clinical arm and an administrative arm. So on the administrative arm, let me just start by sharing a little bit of my background real quickly so you understand. So I have over 20 years of healthcare experience. My foundation is that of a registered nurse. I have a doctorate in health administration, which is non-nursing related. So that's why my passion for influencing changes at the population, national, and global level. Okay. So with Shalom Eagles Wings, from the administrative lens, I provide strategic management to executive administrators, business owners in their strategic management of the organizations, looking at 5 main pillars: leadership, workforce development, the organization culture and climate, forging partnerships, and last but not least, financial practices. Remember, I said shalom, most people know it to mean peace, but it's also wholeness. I'm also a conflict resolution coach. That is one of my biggest passions, helping people optimize their organizations through effective conflict resolution. I'm also a certified hybrid coach with the CIAN. It's a basically Canadian International Applied Negotiations Institution. Now, I'll talk to you about my book shortly, but on the clinical arms of Shalom Eagle's Wings, I'm passionate about women who are high risk for uterine fibroids. And when I use the word high risk, and symptomatic. 1 in 4 women, 1 in 4 live with uterine fibroids. To bring that in perspective, if you were in a room with 100 women, about 25 of them would have uterine fibroids. But it doesn't mean they'll be symptomatic. Okay, so that's an important thing to differentiate between that. So I'm passionate about raising public awareness about uterine fibroids, partnering with organizations like in the medical field, medical clinics who want to ensure and implement early screening for women who are high risk. And when I talk about high risk, it could be they have a family history and so forth, and genetic predisposition for uterine fibroids. So I also provide workshops and one-on-one consultation. I offer those to women at large as well. So that's one clinical arm that I'm passionate about. Now I have added adult and senior consultation as well on the clinical arm for Shalom Eagle's Wings as well. Now you mentioned my book. So yes, so I mentioned conflict resolution is something that's I'm very passionate about. I've been sadly the recipient of destructive conflict. And what do I describe destructive conflict as? Again, as opposed to constructive. Destructive is basically when it tears down relationships, when it tears down processes, where there is sometimes in the healthcare industry, worst case scenario, death. So when I talk about destructive, I said to myself, you know what? People need to be educated that conflict's not necessarily bad. There's a constructive and a destructive side. I spent 10 years of my career in the operating room. And when I was pursuing my master's degree, I promised myself if I ever got a chance to empower people at large to deal with conflict effectively, I'll do something about it. So my capstone project ended up being on conflict resolution in the operating room, empowering new employees and the staff, veteran staff, to deal with conflicts. And it's interesting that the one thing that cost me lots of tears, I won an award. Unbeknownst to me, I submitted an article. I didn't know there was an award associated with it. And I was blessed to be the recipient of this award. So I decided to write my book, publish it. And yeah, it's available on Amazon. And what you should is available on Mark Book Shop as well. But one thing I should mention though, don't be deceived by the title. People outside of the healthcare industry have read my book and seen value in it. So the principles are the same. You just have to be astute and wise to apply it to your work setting or your society and community. Yeah. Oh yes, one thing I should mention, if you buy from me directly, I can personalize it for you, and 10% of the proceedings go to a local charity called Hope Mission. And again, I'm in Alberta, Canada.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I got a question for you. Why, Doc, is it that women fall, I don't want to say fall victim, but fall into a more dangerous category? And then if you throw in African American to that generalization, women, they're even higher risk. Why are women and African American individuals, why do they fall into higher risk whenever anything comes out? What is it about the makeup of women and African Americans that put your lives and your health in more danger?
That's a very good question, very sensitive and could be controversial. But I'm going to answer that question from anecdotal experiences, lived experiences, and from a research perspective, if that's okay. So from anecdotal experiences, and you use the word African American. So just for the records, that's from an American lens. In Canada, we won't use African American because we're not Americans. But
Right.
nevertheless, you're talking about chocolate-hued people as a whole. I love the term chocolate-hued. That's me. Anyway, so part of it has to do with the fact that from anecdotal experiences, some people say it has to do with racism. And it's very interesting that some people don't know that racism can have physiological effects on a human being.
Mm-hmm.
There is a screening tool I highly recommend people look it up. One of them was from Harvard. It's called Unrest, in capital letters. Okay, look it up. Regardless of industry, use it to screen not just women that are chocolate hued, it could be men too. And it will help you recognize individuals that have high risk for health issues, either from a social perspective or from a physical perspective due to racism. So that's one big umbrella term as to why their health might be affected. So for example, when you are subjected to microaggressions, and what do I mean by that? It could be racial slurs, either overt or they could be covert. Covert could be, for example, oh, where are you from? So let me use the example of me being Canadian. Actually, I was born in Canada, just wasn't raised in Canada. And people, number one, look at me, chocolate hued. They listen to my accent because I'm a global citizen, grew up on 3 different continents. I have a very interesting accent. So when I say things like, oh, I'm from Winnipeg, they're like, no, where are you really from? So right there, they don't realize some might deem that a microaggression. You've asked me a question, I answered you because you didn't like or accept my answer, you're digging and prying. Maybe what you intended to ask was, what's your ethnicity? Which is different, very different. Ethnicity has to do with maybe your culture and traditions. Race is a social construct. It's what people put you in a box, actually, is what race is. So there's difference between racial and ethnic background, okay? So maybe what they might wanted to have asked was, what's your ethnic background? And this is educational, okay?
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's one thing. So to answer your question, so there could be racism involved in it, affecting their healthcare. It's a well-known fact that in the States specifically, sadly, maternity health for women. And from what I've read, it has to do with they have a lack of trust of the system because of how they'll be treated and perceived, which makes them delay seeking early treatment. So it'd be prenatal treatment, it could be during pregnancy, or it could be postpartum. So this distrust sadly leads them to not seeking healthcare. And when I say distrust, could be stemming from the fact of what they've heard happen to their colleagues or their family members. They're like, I'm not putting myself in that situation, okay? Now, so that's one aspect. Now, tying it into burnout. So very good question. Well, you didn't use the word burnout, but as in the health, right? So those of African origin, chocolate hued, Caribbean backgrounds, however you want to define it. I love chocolate hued, personally, and I say that with joy. They do have a higher predisposition for being hypertensive. So when you're under lots of stress, be it stress related to racism or being due to discrimination. So let's say, for example, you're not promoted when you have the education background, but you're not promoted because of the color of your skin or due to threat or jealousy, whatever it is, that creates stress. And when there's stress, you have cortisol shoot up in your body, and that doesn't help you, right? So that can impact your stress. And believe it or not, there are some tumors that can be caused by heightened stress levels. Again, yeah. So all that can impact a woman's that's chocolate hue, can impact your health adversely, not just physiologically, but mentally, socially, culturally, and spiritually. So that's the way I can answer that. Did that help?
Are women who are mothers, are they at higher risk than even women who are single and do not have that responsibility of being a mother?
Not necessarily. I mean, I can't speak to what the researchers say, but there's one thing general researchers say, for instance, when you say women who are mothers, we have to classify that into 2 different categories. Are they single mothers or are they mothers with a partner? So
Right.
If they're single mothers, higher risk because they lack the social support to take care of the child. and other things that might be going on. Not to say there are single mothers who are heroines out there. Don't get me wrong, but research shows that those who are in a relationship, married relationship specifically, have better social supports, and that helps their health better. Okay. Now, in terms of singlehood, now, it depends. Some people are of the opinion, and I think they're misconstrued in the fact that because you're single, you don't have responsibilities of a family, of a child, it's easier for you. But no, think of it in a different way. You have everything on your shoulders. You're responsible for working, you're responsible for paying those bills, you're responsible for taking care of things in the house, and so forth. It's an extra load. Yes, you may not have that extra responsibility of looking after a younger one, but what about when you're in the sandwich generation? When you have to take care of your parents. Sandwich generation means taking care of maybe parents or taking care of younger ones. So there are single women, again, when maybe they're not married, people think, oh, they have less responsibility, they should take care of their older parent. They will be at risk for burnout as well. So people don't really see that. So no, so it all depends on what demographic you're looking at, their geographical location, and their social support, and their physical and physiological disposition as well.
I greatly appreciate you navigating and answering that question. I know that there's a huge difference, and I do apologize for using America all the time. It's accustomed to, this is where I live, and it's, I guess it's just habit, but I do apologize for that. So Doc, if you were going to look at someone and someone was going to come to you and say, I'm stressed, I just need a break, Doc, what's the first thing you tell them to do?
Okay. Before I answered that, first and foremost, there was no need for an apology. Thank you, but it wasn't needed. It's all good. Okay. Now, someone that is stressed and they come to me seeking advice. The first thing I would do, I'm very holistic, and I use the mindset of root cause analysis. I ask lots of questions, and the intent is to unearth, to go down to the root cause of an issue. So I'll start by asking the person, number one, again, depending on the setting of where they're asking me, I would prefer to have a nice private conversation with this individual, because I know I'm going to be asking a series of questions before I make any recommendations. So number one, I'll ask, can we have a private time to chat or for a consultation or whatever? And then tell me more about this. Not why are you stressed, tell me more. And based on what they answer, I'll start targeting and narrowing down my questions that will guide any recommendation or guidance I'll give them. Because stress, don't get me wrong. Again, people may not know this. There are two kinds of stress. There's de-stress, the negative, and there's eustress. Eustress is the positive stress that might happen when, let's say, for example, a couple is expecting a baby. Planned. Unplanned might be a little bit unstressful, but it could still be positive. But eustress is the good kind of stress that happens as a result of something positive. So it could be for someone, oh, I can't wait to get that job, but I have to move. They're happy they have a job, but the stress of moving, but it's kind of like a eustress. I hope that makes sense, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the word stress, some people automatically think of it as negative, but no. My approach to answer your question is, first and foremost, tell me about the stress.
Well, I greatly appreciate everything. I appreciate you joining us. You can be found, your two websites are shalomeagleswings.care. That's www.shalomeagleswings.care. And then you can also be found on www.renata.care. That's www.renata.care. You are found at your email address. Let me find that. Oh, and you can get your free gift on renata.care by just going to the free gift, recalibrate and relax. There's a place that you just download it. It's right there, PDF. Just download it to your computer, have it, use it, and live it, love it, and rejuvenate, recalibrate. So, and then you can always get your books when you buy them directly. You're going to get it personalized. She's going to sign it for you, and also donate 10% to who?
Hope Mission.
Hope Mission. Well, that's so wonderful that you're doing that. But you can get your books by visiting the website shalomeagleswings.com is where the book is located. So you can also email her at Cheryl at shalomeagleswings.care. That's Cheryl at shalomeagleswings.care, and your phone number 403-837-9209, 403-837-9209. Is there anything else that you would like to get out to everybody?
Well, first and foremost, thank you very much for having me on this platform. I appreciate it. I am always eager to partner and support organizations that are interested in helping masses at large, So thank you for that. What
welcome.
else I want to share is basically I just want to leave people with something I like to say. I like to say that you are needed in this world to be a solution. Be the best that you can and do not rob the world of a precious gem. You. Goodbye.
That is so fitting for me right now, because I am in the middle of writing a blog that's the exact same thing that you just said. You are needed for to help others, and if you're not there, they're losing that resource. So what a wonderful way to end. Dr. Cheryl Okoli, thank you so very much for joining us. Please come back and join us sometime if there's anything that you can want to announce or you would like to share.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you again. Finally. Okay. Looking to make a difference with your shopping? Visit communitypayitforward.us. Select the mission or cause you want to support and scan the QR code. You have two options. Click the first link and browse our giving partners, or use the second link to tell us what you need, and we'll find the right partners for you. Shop with these partners and keep your receipt or invoice. Next, click a picture or simply upload a picture of your receipt to the portal in every form, adding your name and email address. Your purchase now turns into a donation to the mission you've chosen. Community Pay It Forward shares your business story with those in need of your services to rally support for those who need us all. I want to thank Dr. Okoli for joining us. And I think one of the things that I want to reiterate and pick up on a little bit is the last statement that she said that, we need you to be here. And that is, anybody who's ever watched any of my shows knows that that's so important, because each of us, we have our own story to tell. And that story, if told in the right way and if told to the right people, can mean the world to somebody. It's one of the reasons why we really focus on telling as many stories as we can. Okay. And speaking of telling stories, we're here for you to tell your story by simply scanning the QR code that you would see right above us. That QR code will bring you to a form. Fill out that form, and you can tell us about your business, about your program, about your nonprofit, any of those. All you got to do is scan the QR code, fill it out, pick a date. Let's record a segment, and we will get it on the air as soon as we possibly can. Be very thorough and tell us exactly what you want to talk about. And we will get you in and, let's tell people who you are. At this time, I want to give a huge thanks to a person we talked to the other day, and we learned so much about her, and that's Jill E. Schultz, who is our brand new PACT sponsor. JillESchultz.com, JillESchultz.com. Look, every single one of us has a past. And as I like to say, something that I saw once on a sticky note, and it said, every saint has a past, every sinner has a future. And Jill E. Schultz wants to teach and wants to help you get through that past and face the future and bring that wonderful, that wonderful you into the light. And it's very easy for us to do. And that's by releasing the embarrassment. That's by, sorry about the weird sounds that you just heard. But getting rid of the shame and bringing out the wonderful feelings and the wonderful you. You're going to get a chance to meet Jill E. Schultz as soon as this show is over. So at 9 p.m. East, 7 p.m. right here in the mountains. Stay tuned right here on the PACT channels, and just all you got to do is scroll up a little bit, and it's going to show up right after this last interview that we've got with another brand new friend who really wants to focus on love. You know, what can love do for you emotionally, physically, professionally? Why we need love in our life. So when we get after this real quick spot, we're going to be talking to Mandolin Moses. Wonderful, wonderful, beautiful lady. I really, really enjoyed this interview, and she has so many personal experiences to tell, and it is really her program and what she does is just so amazing. So please enjoy this interview with Mandolin Moses. Finally, we have had a lot of difficult shows that we've been talking about lately everywhere, from dating to, past traumas in childhood and stuff like that, to where now we get someone who's going to talk about something that's pleasant, generally pleasant. So sometimes it's a little awkward, but it's generally pretty pleasant. I am thrilled to introduce to you to international public speaker and author Mandolin Moses. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, no problem. Tell us about love?
So, this has been a concept that I've been teaching for years, and it's been my ultimate purpose in life is to be someone out there that actually expresses what love really is. Years ago, I created a workshop called What is Love? And the very first time I did it, I had like a big group and everybody was talking about love. And, I opened up the workshop saying it's said to have 136 different definitions of what love is, right? So we'll talk about, I love this slice of pizza. I love the weather. I love the beach. I love you. I love my children. I love, there's like this word love is just used so, in such a broad way. And it was funny because this morning I was just thinking about this for my daughter. And they're going to be today, I'm glad we're having this conversation. I have to message her. It's her anniversary with her husband. And a lot of people think that relationships and marriage and everything, it all has to do with love. And this notion of love and people falling in and out of love with each other. And that's not love. There's no such thing as falling in love with somebody and then out of love with somebody. And so when I was teaching this workshop, at the end of the workshop, after everybody was kind of discussing what love is, a man in the workshop asked me, "So Mandolin, what is your definition of love?" And I said, "It's simple. There's only one definition of love. And love is holding someone to a higher standard than they would hold themselves. That is the definition of love."
Okay. So in that definition, one of the things that we always hear is that you cannot love someone unless you love yourself.
Oh my gosh, I hate that saying more than anything in the whole wide world.
I'm glad I brought it up then.
I loathe that expression because it's funny because if you ask 100 people, 95% of people, like if I ask you, "Hey Zach, do you love yourself?" What's going to be your answer?
Sometimes.
Honestly, people say, "Well, I love myself,
yeah.
And I really want this. I want this relationship. I want this money. I want this job. I want this. I love myself. I'm doing everything." Most people are going to say that they love themselves, right? Most people aren't going to say, there are some people out there that, are very unhappy and they're going to say that they don't love themselves. But the way that, we're not here to be on this planet by ourselves. We're just not. God gave us 7.8 billion other people on this planet to connect with. And these people in our lives come into our lives to show us love. And many times show us where we need to grow and expand. And we can never do that alone, and it's like, so how can you say that, if you don't love yourself, nobody else is going to love you? Or how can somebody love you if you don't love yourself? That's just crazy. We're supposed to spend our entire life in isolation until we come to this realization, "Oh my gosh, I finally love myself." And then you come out into the world and the whole world is just going to embrace you with this notion of unconditional love. That's insane. That is absolutely insane way of thinking. It's like if I'm having, just recently I had a pretty big health scare, right? And I was down. I was feeling really down. I was feeling like, my gosh, me of all people, how did this happen to me? But you know what? I was so blessed in that moment that I had all these friends that reminded me of how amazing I was and why I was, my friends were like, "Man, this was just the devil's chance to get you down." You know what I mean? God sent you here for a reason. you know, get your head up. You're here for a reason. You're going to get through this. Man, I couldn't imagine going through what I went through without all these people reminding me of how beautiful I was. Because at the time I was just ready. I was like, I was stressed out. I was at the lowest point of my life. And here I have all these people that stood up to bring my chin up. You know, it was like, thank God I had those people that held me to a higher standard, that kept me distracted from all of the chaos that was going around me. That's what people are for. So I absolutely loathe that saying, because we need people to remind us of how powerful we are in certain moments when we're not feeling powerful ourselves.
I tell people on a daily basis that when I was in the hospital bed after my motorcycle accident, one of my first thoughts that I can remember, of course, I don't remember a whole lot about it, but the one thing that I do remember is waking up and knowing that there were people there, seeing that there were people there for me to take care of me. And one of my first thoughts was, what if I had just moved to this area and somebody ran me off the road and nobody knew me? How scary would that have been to woken up to nobody there, being there, to, you know, my friends, my family are hundreds of miles away or even 70 miles away, but nobody can get there overnight. And we're sitting there, you know, I'm sitting there in a very scary situation and people couldn't be there for me. And when I first started creating Community Pay It Forward, that was one of the things I wanted to make sure that we could do, that we could tell somebody who's in a bad situation, hey, we don't know you that well, but we're here for you, you know, to show people that we're here to love them. And I love that the fact that you brought that into your explanation, that really, you know, that's what this is about, is, you know, support and just being there. It's a tough life when you don't think anybody's there for you.
You know, I'm going to share these two stories. So when I was in the hospital, so about a month ago, I got a phone call saying, you know, get to the emergency room right away. You're about to have a heart attack or a stroke. Like, if I wouldn't have gone to the hospital that morning or that night, I wouldn't have woke up in the morning. Like, I went into AFib. In the hospital, my heart stopped several times. They had to do 3 EKGs on me because my heart kept stopping. And I go into the hospital, and obviously I'm in shock because I'm like super healthy, you know. I'm like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know what the heck's going on. But I'm just like laughing and joking with the hospital staff, you know. It's like, look, at this point in my life, I'm just in your hands, right? And the doctor, I'll never forget this, is just hands down one of the most beautiful moments of my life. And I have to say, I live a very blessed life. I really do. But this doctor comes in and he has his hand on his chest, and he's like, Mandolin, how are you doing? And I said, you know, I'm doing all right. You know, I was like, I don't, you know, I have no control of the situation. I'm in your hands. You know, I still am in shock. I don't really know what I'm doing here. And, you know, and we're just having this conversation, and I said, you know, and I said, I just feel grateful, you know, that I'm here. And he's like, you know what? I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy you're here. And that always just wants to bring tears to my eyes, because he didn't know me.
Yeah.
But he, like him, like the body language of him standing up tall, the compassion of how I'm feeling, you know. Oh, that's what he said. He said, you know what? Try and get some sleep. And I said, you and I both know I'm not getting any sleep, because the last time I tried falling asleep, my heart stopped and you guys all came running in to revive me. So I just said, you know, I'm just going to sit here and meditate. And then that's when he said, I'm so happy you're here, you know. And when the nurse came in to give me my blood transfusions, you know, I was like, oh, give me some superhero blood if you have that. If not, I'll settle for Michael Jordan's. And she's like, I have never heard anybody laugh or joke with me while I'm giving them a blood transfusion before. And I was like, you know, but what happened was the whole staff at the hospital was so enlightened and lifted because they were in this presence of love. And because of that, I don't have one of those horror stories about Western medicine or anything like that. I have like a beautiful story about the care that I was in, because we all were in this beautiful marriage of love, you know, and that's really what marriage is. Not like, you know, signing a piece of paper, but it's the union of people coming together in this place of unconditional love and trusting each other. And I mean, as crappy as the situation was, it was just one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had in my life.
I appreciate you saying that, because I have never walked into a hospital when I was the patient and walked out angrier. You know, I have never. I'm not the patient that's going to walk in there and complain and, you know, bitch and moan that, oh my God, the food is awful, all this stuff is awful. You know, what's going on? I'll play around a little bit, you know, with the nurses. You know, they'll come in and they'll be like, oh, we're out of orange Jello, and I'm like, what? I want to see the manager, you know, stuff like that. I want to, and you know, they're like, well, if you know, if you don't behave, we're just going to drug you and it'll knock you out. And I'm like going, maybe that's what I'm looking for. You know, I love being able to go in there and have fun with them, because, you know, you hear the other people that are talking to them. Those rooms are nice and private.
Yeah.
But you still hear some of the other things that they have to go through. We've also all been in that situation where, guess what? Those nurses that bust their butt every day, you know, they have to deal with situations where not everybody's as lucky as you are. You know, families are in very high intense times, and you know, maybe even if they don't intend on being the world's biggest jerk, you know, it's not easy to lose a family member or see your son hurt. That was one one time when I did snap out when my, you know, 1-year-old boy, the lady couldn't get the needle in his, you know, in his arm. And I wasn't the nicest guy that time, but it's like, you know, stab me 1,000,000 times, I don't care. You don't stab my son again, or I'm gonna hurt you. But what brought on what brought on this need to teach people about love?
You know, it's funny because I came into this world completely unloved. You know, a few years back, my mom has never been a great mother, and my mom's never liked me. She's never loved me. And I'm not saying that, like, she's told me this. These are things that I hear from my mom calls me a joke. It's since the day I was born, I was rejected. And a few years ago, it was actually back in 2020, I was contemplating, you know, I was like, you know, because she just really was never a good mom. So I asked her, you know, Mom, I understand that parents don't often get their side of the story told, you know, and we don't, as children, we don't really know what you go through on a daily basis or whatever, and what you went through in your personal life that led to, you know, where we're at today. So I said, Mom, do you mind if I interview you so I can just get to know you a little bit better? And she said, okay, sure. And the one thing that she said to me, it was totally not what I expected, but she said, the second you were born, you looked at me in my eyes and you judged me. And she says, I just couldn't deal with the judgment. I was like, so that was your thought. You just had I'm the firstborn out of all of the siblings. You just had your firstborn, and you're looking your daughter in her eyes, it's staring you back in your eyes, and you're looking at this baby that's been born only for a few moments, and all you can think to yourself is how much I judged you. So you can imagine the kind of life I grew up with. I grew up on my own. I grew up unloved. I grew up very independent. I had 3 siblings after me. I raised my kids. They were my kids, you know, and but I really truly believe we come into this planet with contracts and missions, and our parents and our early caregivers, the circumstances that we're placed in, they are experiences that we go through that we transmute into wisdom. Now, many people can get caught up in their circumstances and victimhood and all of that, but those moments were there to teach us so we can overcome it, transmute it into wisdom, and serve fellow humanity. So although I could sit here and be like, man, you know, like I was so abused, I was so neglected, I was so abandoned, I was never loved. And people were like, man, your mom is horrible. She's a horrible bitch, right? That could be totally justified. But that was not my purpose. My purpose was to go from being completely unloved to learning what it means to show unconditional, to be unconditional love. So now in my life, it is my mission to every single person or sentient being, leaf, ant, whatever on this planet, it is my mission. God put me on this planet to express unconditional love to everything around me, including myself, because I had to learn that for myself. And so that's why I'm so passionate about this, is because I grew up not being loved. And now I understand and I see that in people, regardless of their behavior, I can see their wound and I can show compassion for them, regardless of what circumstance they're in, or regardless of how they treat me. At least I can still show them compassion because I know I've been there.
You know, you hit it right on the head. I mean, when you were telling us when you were telling us the story about your mom, the first thing I was thinking of is, whoa, how, why would a mom? But I don't know her story, and so for me judging, that's, you know, that shame on me for judging. So I understand, you know, where you were going, where the first thought I was like, is like, oh my God, poor lady, you know, for
You know, I want to say how funny that is, because that was my normal growing up, you know?
Yeah.
And so like as a storyteller, I share these stories, and it's not until like I'll go speak on stage or I'll share my story and I'll like, you know, like things that my mom has done, and people's eyes are like, and I'm like, oh, that's right, that's not normal.
Yeah, that's not normal, right?
That's not normal.
So how difficult was parenting for you? Yeah, I mean, you've already said that you raised your siblings, but when you had your child, how difficult was it for you to go? And I'm pretty sure that the first, you know, some of the first things you were thinking of is, I'm doing this different. But how difficult was it for you to balance between over parenting and good parenting?
You know, it's really funny. I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine last night. I just believe 100% that God puts you on this planet for a reason. Like you're here for a reason. And my reason and my purpose was to be a mom. Like it's something that just, honestly, I have to say, just really, I had my daughter when I was 14 and I had my second daughter when I was 16. And being a parent, it's just something that really came supernatural for me. And there was a situation, I can name a million situations, but this one situation, when my kids were in high school, they had a friend who was having some real issues at home, and this kid ran away, and then I took her into my house. And here I am, you know, in my early 30s with 2 kids, single mother, and I'm sitting here mediating between this child and the mother and trying to get them to a point where they could come together. And I'm just like, how in the world do I have this figured out way before, you know, this woman's like almost twice my age, you know? And you know, even to this day, I've got grown men and women who are older than me that call me mom, you know. I have to say it was just something that I was born to do. And I think I did witness everything that my mom wasn't. And and there was a part of me that was like, I'm gonna do better. And I really enjoy, I enjoy that. It's just natural for me to be nurturing. And I've been able to, you know, been asked and to write parenting courses and teach parenting for different organizations over the last several years, and being a mentor. It's just something that honestly comes natural, and there's no other explanation for it besides motherhood has just been something that's been very natural for me.
Mandolin, what kind of people need to come to you who are having, like, what kind of situations are you hoping that people come to you for? Is it for like self-expression, self-love, or is it like parenting, or is it just kind of all over the board? You're just looking for people to come to you because they have questions.
You know, it's back in like, I'm a business consultant, you know, and I teach people businesses and things like that. And I always say there's riches in the niches. So when I teach people that, you know, getting them to build their revenue, but so I'm going against my own business advice here, which I've done that before in the past, but where I'm moving at in my life right now, I wrote this book that's coming out. It should be out in October. It's called I'm Not Your Villain, I'm Your Mother. And especially when you go through a near-death experience like I did, you get really clear on what it is that you want. And for me, God put me on this planet to reach a lot of people. And I've been very blessed in my life to help thousands of people all over the world in so many different circumstances. And at this point, I feel like I'm just here for the world. And so, you know, there's so many people that are going through situations in their life that they just need nurturing. They need a mother, they need a hug, they need someone to understand them, to get them. And unlike my mother, this is the biggest thing I had to overcome was judgment. As you can see, I grew up, you know, you judged me. So you could imagine all the judgment and fear of judgment that I had to go through growing up. And so because of that, I don't see the world in any kind of judgment. I'm here to embrace everybody. And that's as true and authentic as I could share of myself. You know, it doesn't matter what you're going through. I want to at least want everybody in the world to know that there's at least one person out in the world that loves you, that cares about you, that will not judge you. And whatever it is that you're going through, I'm here to listen. And I know this is kind of long-winded, but a couple weeks ago, I was teaching at a youth conference, and I was teaching one of these workshops, What is Love? And at the end of the workshop, I went to each one of the students and I looked them in the eyes and I told them I loved them 3 times. And every single one of those kids, I said, at the end, I said, how well do you receive that? And the kids just silently went, they couldn't receive it. And it just broke my heart. And there was this one kid I asked, I said, why can't you receive that? You know, I'm looking you in your eyes and I'm telling you that I love you. Why can't you receive that? And he said, you don't know what I've done. And this kid was probably 13. What could you have done at the age of 13 that makes you so bad that you are not lovable?
Yeah.
And I said, why do I need to know what you've done in your life to love you the way you are in this moment right now? And everybody on this planet just needs love. That's it. That's the only problem. We can go and talk about global warming, we could talk about pollution, we could talk about war, we could talk about politics, but at the end of the day, everybody's just out there trying to seek love and acceptance. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
You know, and you know, you just touched on a key word, and I'm not gonna stress on it too much, but I tell people all the time, I have got 3 men in my life who I have the utmost respect and love for. They are 3 of the most important men in my life, and politically, we could not be further apart. I mean, they 3 stand on one side, and I stand way the hell on the other side. I mean, I am so far away from them. You know, we wouldn't be able to talk on a cell phone if we were talking politics.
Right.
I mean, it's that far apart. But I talk to all 3 of them all the time. And we can even talk about that dreaded politics word.
Yeah.
But the thing is that we understand that, you know what, there's a relationship there that's far more important than any of that other bull crap. And we know that, you know what, our lives are going to suck without that other person in it.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, you told us that story the other day in a meeting, the story about the students, and all I could think of is, you know, we end this show by telling people to please love somebody out there because somebody out here loves you.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so true. You know, we don't need to know you to love and honor you. We don't need to know you to want to help you. We just need to know that you're there. You need to allow us to be there for you, you know. And so your message is, I mean, it's like I said, we've had a lot of guests lately where it's a lot of grab your heart and clench your heart and oh my God, this is painful.
Right.
This is such a nice, relaxing conversation, but I understand that there, you know, what are some of the things that you have to deal with that you can't believe that you struggle with when you're talking to people? What are some of the things that people struggle with? Let me try to reword this to where it might make a little more sense. What are some of the things that people struggle with that you try to get across to them that you're sitting there going, you know, and we all have this moment, and every single one of us, but you know, it's like, what don't you understand? I'm going to beat the hell out of you because you can't get my kindness. You know?
Right. I mean, that's a good question. Man, I think that we've been so beaten up in our society that there's this, like, I guess I'm just going to let this flow, that there's this linear stream of events that need to happen in order for this to happen. That I can get this only if I do this and this and this and this and this. I really, really, really want this, but this has to happen first. And anytime I hear people say that, I just, in my brain, I'm just like, man, you just really don't understand how powerful you are. And how much that we gave our power away to things that just don't matter, you know? Like, we're only here on this planet for such a, let's just say at the tops 80 to 100 years. That's really not that much time. And, I'm such a woman of faith. I'm like, do you really think God is going to place all those limitations on you to complete everything that you're capable of within that short amount of time? All you need to do in that particular moment is make the decision that you're going to do this, and magic will happen to you. And the more that you keep on thinking that this has to happen in order for this to happen, it's like what bothers me the most is that people just don't really realize how insanely powerful that they really are. And it's like, and I see it, and that's why I say love is really that unconditional holding people to a higher standard than they hold themselves. It's like, wait a second, lift up your chin. Lift up your chin, recognize who you are, recognize how powerful you are. We are all made in that image of the creation, so be that. And you'll see magic happen in your life right away, but don't limit yourself.
Well, let me ask you this one last question, and then I'll let you go. What is the one thing, Mandolin, that you would tell somebody? And I don't, by no means, I don't want to simplify what you do, because I think what you do is amazing. But what is one thing that you tell somebody who is feeling unloved? What's the one thing that you can tell them to give them at least that little bit of boost to open their eyes and look around and find that person that does love them?
I always say, it's like, I'm going to start with this, we go through times in our lives that suck,
Yep.
that really, really, really suck. And it really drives me crazy when you've got, spiritual teachers or coaches that, or just regular people in the world that are like, oh, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, or they try and diminish what it is that you're going through,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or, oh man, you think you have problems. There's starving kids in Africa. God, that drives me absolutely crazy. Don't take away from my experience that I'm going through right now. So the things that there's two pieces of advice that I could give. I don't like the word advice, but number one, if you're going through something, do yourself a favor and go through it totally, 100%. Don't ease yourself out of it. This is where we get stuck into addictions and vices and all these distractions in life that take us away from what it is that we're going through. And then what happens in that is later on, that's going to come back and bite you in your ass later. It's going to blow up later. So if you're going through something, a dark time, go through it 100% until you are ready to come out of it. It's okay to not be okay. It is okay to not be okay. It is okay. If you're having a bad day, I hate it when people say, it's like, how are things going? I'm fine. Oh, you should be perfect. No, you shouldn't be. It's okay. Find yourself some support and some people that are just going to hold space and listen and be a shoulder to cry on, because we need that sometimes. Mm-hmm. And then as you're coming out of it, I always say, now it's time to ask yourself, what was the beauty in that situation? There are certain situations, again, they just suck. A year and a half ago, I went through a situation that absolutely broke my freaking heart. Broke my heart. And I'm still trying to, there's a lot of beauty that came out of the situation, but it sucked. But it sucked.
There was something that you said earlier that the phrase, and it's so funny because your answer fits it perfectly. The phrase came to my mind, live the suck. And your answer was exactly that. I didn't think I was going to get to use that phrase, but you said something a little bit earlier that all I could think of is live the suck, appreciate the suck. And that's exactly what it is. You cannot look, situations are going to happen. And the truth is that none of us have ever been in a bad situation and went, oh, thank God it happened right now. Yeah, they're always saying, oh, why did it happen right now? It's like, well, it happened right now because you're in right now. You cannot be at some other point in time. And so, live the suck, and it's going to suck for a while. Like you mentioned, one of the things that drives me crazy is when somebody will sit there and you'll be like, oh, I'm just dealing with a headache today. And you hear those words, welcome to my world. I want to strangle people when I hear that. Or, your pain, or, I've got a headache, but it's not near as bad as yours. Yeah, you don't know what mine's like. I don't know what yours is like. Live with your headache. Don't worry about mine. Your headache could be a hell of a lot worse for you because I live with them in a daily, I live with them daily. So mine are manageable to me, so you live with yours. Yours are going to suck enough for you. So, but I want to thank you. I want to thank you for everything. And I want to thank you mostly for being you, because I think that it's really neat what you're doing. I also want to thank you for sitting in front of that really cool looking fireplace, because that is just awesome looking. So I've been staring at it the whole time. And I do think it's ironic that I put on my purple lighting.
I know, right? We're twinsies right now.
Yeah. So, I had the purple lighting in the back, and the purple lighting above my head, shining my 5 head, which is kind of nice, going. But yeah, it was kind of neat that we're matching there. But Mandolin, how do people get a hold of you?
The best way right now is I'm pretty active on Instagram. So definitely connect with me on Instagram or LinkedIn. You can also send me an email. But on LinkedIn and on Instagram, I will be posting updates pretty soon with my book coming out, which my book is called I'm Not Your Villain, I'm Your Mother. And we talk about all these things. And the book really is a story and a journey of self-love, and that how to overcome circumstances in our life and transmute those into our superpower. We need to take our power back and realize how innately powerful we really are, and stop giving away our power to all these things outside of ourselves. And that's how we're going to see change in this world. So I'm really excited about that. So contact me on those platforms, and definitely stay informed of when the book is going to come out.
Yeah. Do you have a release date yet? Or
not yet? I'm on pins and needles right now. As far as our timeline goes with the publisher, it should be like around October. So,
well, I'm going to ask you a huge favor. Please keep us updated. As soon as you have a release date, we will replay this show with your release date, and that way people can get a hold of you, and that way they can get a hold of the books. So
yeah, that would be great. I'm super excited. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just, I did want to mention one thing.
Yes.
That what you had brought up earlier when we were talking about laughing and stuff in the hospitals. One little nugget, I've studied under almost every single religion that you can think of. I've been a student of every, I'm just a nerd that way. But the highest form is Buddhism. The highest form of any structured religion is Buddhism, and the biggest and it's Taoism. Buddhism is Taoist, is what I've studied under. But laughter is the best medicine that you can ever. There's no higher form of medicine on this planet outside of laughter. So even when you're going through a difficult circumstance, it may not be funny in the moment, but you find some humor in it. And that is going to heal you and your body and everybody around you, your mind, your spirit, faster than anything else out there in the world. Laughter is the highest form of human expression. So laugh your way through life. Life is nothing but a cosmic joke, and we're just like players in this comedy, And you can live a drama or a thriller or whatever it is, but I choose to live my life as a comedy, and it just seems to be the best way of healing. So find laughter in everything that you do, and that'll be your quickest path to self-love.
Mandolin Moses, thank you very much. You can get a hold of her at mandolin.moses@gmail.com. Once again, that's mandolin.moses@gmail.com. You can get a hold of her on Instagram at Mandolin Moses. And it's the same on LinkedIn. She's very easy to find. If you have any questions, it's all going to be attached to this video. Mandolin, thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for having me. I love you all so much.
Thank you. Looking to make a difference with your shopping? Visit communitypayitforward.us. Select the mission or cause you want to support and scan the QR code. You have two options. Click the first link and browse our giving partners, or use the second link to tell us what you need, and we'll find the right partners for you. Shop with these partners and keep your receipt or invoice. Next, click a picture or simply upload a picture of your receipt to the portal in every form, adding your name and email address. Your purchase now turns into a donation to the mission you've chosen. Community Pay It Forward shares your business story with those in need of your services to rally support for those who need us all. Hey, we have a lot of things coming up, and I would like to ask a favor of you. Please like and subscribe wherever you're at. Make sure that you help us to tell these stories of these wonderful people. All you have to do is find us on any of the social media networks. Speaking of social media, it looks like X is going to do something, formerly Twitter. They're going to do something, and we are probably going to be closing our account on X. If we're unable to use the format, then why be on the format? And they're making it to where we would have to put up money to utilize their format. So I don't think that we're going to be running on there for much longer. But you can still find us on both Facebook pages and YouTube. You can also find us on LinkedIn and of course on communitypayitforward.us. This is it for us tonight. I want to thank you very much for joining us. Outstanding guests. I really appreciated everything that they were talking about, from the funding of companies to the assistance of companies to just the great things that love can do. Let's make sure that we take care of each other out here, okay? Make sure you love somebody out here, because somebody out here loves you. Look, we got to help people. We got to make sure that everyone is doing well, because if you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. Please remember, no one needs to go it alone when we all come together. My name is Zach Clayton, Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. This has been Community IMpACT, brought to you by Jill E. Schultz. Please visit jilleschultz.com and learn how to defeat your shame and live the life that you really want to live. Join us again next week when we have another show. I believe next week. Oh, no, next week. We don't quite have the wine show. It's the week after that we have the wine show. So we'll see. I know that we've got quite a few guests coming up. I know that we're going to have a couple of partners from a long time ago that are going to be joining us and reintroducing themselves. So I'm excited for next week's show. But until next week, again, my name is Zach Clayton, Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels, saying thank you, I love you, and be there for someone.
Stepping out of her fear, bring me home. Out alone, to show me the way. You wanna be a part of Sunset Boulevard.